Hello and welcome to Mr. Game Review Show. Don't forget to subscribe the channel, hit the like button and put a comment below the video. Thank you so much. The Mask for the SNES, released in 1995 by Black Pearl Software, is an action platformer based on the popular 1994 film starring Jim Carrey. As with many movie tie-in games, The Mask tries to capture the zany, over-the-top antics of the film but with mixed results. The game excels in its colorful, cartoonish graphics, which closely mirror the visual style of the movie. The Mask character is well animated, complete with exaggerated, slapstick moves like spinning into a tornado, using a giant mallet, and pulling objects out of thin air, reflecting the wild antics seen in the film. The Mask has a decent variety of attacks and powers that add some depth to the gameplay. From using guns and mallets to the tornado spin, the abilities make the character feel powerful and true to the source material. The upbeat, jazzy soundtrack fits well with the tone of the game, and the sound effects are suitably over the top. The soundtrack is catchy, evoking the energy and chaos of the movie. The Mask on SNES is a mixed bag. It captures the essence of the movie through its vibrant presentation and wacky animations, but it suffers from repetitive gameplay and unpolished controls. It's a fun romp for fans of the film or those nostalgic for 90s action platformers, but it doesn't stand out among the best SNES games of its era. The Mask for SNES does have several boss fights throughout the game. These bosses are typically characters or enemies from the movie, though some are more generic or loosely based on the film's world. The bosses often require specific strategies or timing, utilizing the Mask's abilities to defeat them. Some notable bosses include 1. Dorian Tyrell, the main antagonist of the movie. Dorian is a major boss fight in the game, appearing near the end. He becomes more menacing after putting on the mask himself, and the fight is a challenging showdown that tests the player's mastery of the mask's abilities. 2. LT Kellaway, the police lieutenant from the movie, shows up as a boss, though in the game he is depicted as more of a comical opponent. The fight focuses on dodging his attacks and countering with the mask's special abilities. 3. Other minor bosses. There are additional bosses spread throughout the stages, such as larger enemies or mini-bosses that have more health and different attack patterns than the standard foes. These might include bouncers, gangsters, or other goons that represent various challenges from the movie's universe. Each boss fight typically requires the use of the Mask's diverse moveset, whether it's ranged attacks or close combat. However, like the rest of the game, the boss battles can suffer from the same control issues and uneven difficulty spikes, making some more frustrating than fun. The game does a good job of capturing the zany, over-the-top style of the Mask movie. The character's exaggerated moves, abilities, and antics match the chaotic and humorous spirit of the film. The Mask's character has an impressive range of abilities, including the use of weapons like mallets, guns, and his signature tornado spin. This variety adds some depth to combat and gives players multiple ways to deal with enemies. The graphics are vibrant and cartoonish, perfectly in line with the film's lively and comical visuals. The animation is smooth, especially when the Mask pulls off exaggerated attacks, keeping the game visually engaging. The Mask's wild animations, from spinning into a tornado to pulling out a giant hammer, are well done and fun to watch. The animations are reminiscent of cartoon-style humor and help maintain the game's light-hearted feel. The upbeat, jazzy soundtrack complements the game's energetic pace and slapstick humor. The music stays true to the film's light, comedic tone and enhances the overall experience. True to the film, the game features a comedic and light-hearted atmosphere. Whether it's the goofy enemy designs or the playful sound effects, the Mask delivers moments that are more about fun than seriousness. These aspects make the game enjoyable, particularly for fans of the movie or those who appreciate a comical take on the action platformer genre. While it has its flaws, these positives help the game stand out in terms of personality and entertainment value. The Mask was never ported to the Sega Genesis, and there are a few potential reasons for this: platform exclusivity. During the 1990s, it was common for games to be released exclusively on one platform. Publishers often struck deals with console manufacturers like Nintendo or Sega to keep certain games exclusive, or developers may have focused on one console due to technical or budgetary constraints. The Mask was developed by Black Pearl Software and published by THQ, which might have chosen to focus solely on the SNES, possibly due to an agreement with Nintendo or because the developers were more familiar with the hardware. Market saturation. By 1995, when the Mask was released, the Sega Genesis was nearing the end of its life cycle, with the Sega Saturn and other next-gen systems on the horizon. Given the timing, porting the game to Sega might not have seemed like a financially viable decision. THQ and Black Pearl may have determined that focusing on one platform, especially one as popular as the SNES, was a better option. Focus on other projects. Black Pearl Software, the game's developer, might have already been working on other projects or platforms, making a Sega port less of a priority. It's also possible that other Sega games in the works were higher on the list for THQ's publishing plans. Ultimately, a combination of timing, cost, and market factors likely led to the decision to keep the Mask exclusive to the SNES, leaving Sega Genesis players without a version of the game.
Payback.